Hi guys, today I thought we'd do a little video about the whole molting process that spiders, and tarantulas go through. Being that we've had sort of quite a hot spell lately in the UK, you do find that a lot of your tarantulas do start molting sort of quite quickly. I've had a few which have been in pre-molt for quite a while, and they have molted quite recently, the last sort of few days. But if you're new to tarantula keeping, it can be quite stressful because I've seen multiple forums, for instance, where people think that their new tarantula has died because they come in the morning and it's on its back. But it's one of the things which they do when they molt. Not always. Some tarantulas and spiders do molt in some strange positions, but but for people that are used to other pets, where they're quite used to being hands-on with animals, sitting back and watching an animal perform quite a stressful sort of process. It can be quite hard to just sit back and watch, but it's something that you sort of, with time, you do kind of learn to kind of read the situation. But there's not really that much you can do if your spider is having difficulty. But I thought I'd put together a little video, just to show you what to look out for, if you are new to the whole thing. So yeah, let's get into the video and have a look at some of the ups and downs of the molting process.
So this is my extremely well behaved red colour former OBT. Now one of the first things that a tarantula will do when they're going into the molting process is they will stop eating. Now this spider, she probably stopped eating around about 2 months ago. So she's normally, a real good feeder. So it's a definite sign that your tarantula's going to molt. But obviously, tarantulas, they do fast for other reasons. But it's definitely the first thing that you will notice about a spider. Now, the next thing is that they will turn darker in colour. Now, she's normally a real vibrant, bright orange. And you can see she's kind of taken on this ginger shade. And if you look really carefully, I'm not really sure whether the camera picks it up, but she has these shiny black patches on her legs. Now, if you have a New World tarantula, which has kicked some of its hairs off the abdomen and has a little bald spot, when it's, really, really close to a molt, that bald spot will turn, almost completely jet black. So it's a little bit harder to see on some of your Old World tarantulas, but it's a definite telltale sign. So in this enclosure here I have my Davus pentaloris. Now she's never actually used the hide that I provided. She's actually dug a tunnel under this log here. Now one of the things that a lot of tarantulas will do is they will barricade themselves into their burrow. Now just at the front here you can see she's kind of balled up the substrate and webbed it together, and she's plugged the entrance to her tunnel. Now this is something that a lot of tarantulas will do to protect themselves, because when they're on their backs molting, they're extremely vulnerable to being attacked. So it's quite a natural behaviour for a lot of tarantulas to do this. Now this process can go on for months and months, and this is one of the things that if you're new to tarantula keeping, it's extremely testing, because you have no idea what's going on inside the burrow until the spider emerges. So I thought it would be rude to not include true spiders in the video. Now the molting process for true spiders is much, much faster than it is with tarantulas. Also, where your tarantulas will stop eating, these guys, they can eat, almost right up until they molt. So obviously they have quite fast metabolisms and they have quite short lifespans as well. So they do tend to do everything quicker. Now, when these guys molt, within a day or two, they could be running around again, looking for something to eat. So it's definitely not the same frustrating process that it is with, with your tarantulas. So, if you want to get into true spiders, they really can be quite interesting. Certainly these guys, with their big eyes, they do look at you a lot, and they are quite interactive. So let's imagine that you're relatively new to tarantula keeping. You've just shelled out your hard-earned money on a fancy spider, and you come in the morning and it looks like this. Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking that this is a dead spider, but this is what a lot of terrestrial tarantulas will do when they molt. They will molt in the upside down position. Now you can see this one hasn't barricaded itself away. It's literally doing it right in the entrance of its burrow. So this is one of the most alarming sights for new tarantula keepers. Now, not all tarantulas will molt in this position. There are some which will molt upright, and some of your arboreals, they can molt in some quite interesting positions sometimes. But yeah, this is definitely one of the more alarming parts of molting for new tarantula keepers. So when your tarantula completes its molt, it will now be completely exhausted, and also it's almost sort of wet at this stage, so it needs a period of time to harden off. So when it's in this sort of stage, it's extremely vulnerable, so under no circumstances disturb a tarantula when it's in this vulnerable state, because it will damage your spider, could possibly even kill it. So I'll leave it at least a week until I open the lid and add a bit of water. So yeah, really can't stress enough that it's really important to wait for your tarantula to harden off. Once the fangs turn black and you see the tarantula starts moving about again, you'll know that it's okay to to go and do what you need to do. Now, all the molts that I've had in the last few weeks have all gone really smoothly, but occasionally a tarantula can get into real difficulty during the molting process. So I have recently lost an avic to a bad molt, and I was quite gutted really, because I've had it since it was a tiny little spider. But it's one of those things. Occasionally, they will get into difficulty, and they can get horribly injured sometimes. So people, they like to try and blame other people's husbandry for, for a tarantula passing, but it is one of those things. It's not always perfect. So don't beat yourself up, if you do lose a tarantula in the molting process, especially your small spiderlings. So this guy here is my Grammostola pulchripes. Now, this one seemed like it was having a bit of a problem, but it came through and was perfect in the end. So you can see it's a real nice, vibrant, fresh spider. So hope you've enjoyed seeing my molting video today. If you are new to keeping, it can be quite stressful. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you again soon.